that's your thing. I mean, I remember, people are people are like, "So, what'd you have for breakfast today?" And I was like, I don't know. I think I had steak and there was some leftover potatoes or something." They're like, "What, steak and eggs?" I go, "No, steak." I had my breakfast at 11 o'clock last night, and they're like, "What?" You know?
It's crazy because like you'll start to see that with people that'll be like, when they assume like, oh, are you tired? Are you angry? Like, or all these types of things. Oh, you didn't get any sleep last night, did you? It's like, no, it's like everybody's schedule's different. Like I work what 2 a.m. till like 10. So everyone's
Yeah,
like, you got the whole day ahead of you. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm tired as shit when I get home. Like
I know,
all those
and
night shift
and your
people.
neighbors, yeah, and your neighbors don't give a crap that you usually that you're on a different schedule. So how do you tell your neighbor not to mow his lawn or
Oh
something?
my
Or
God,
if
you're
you're in
telling me.
the suburbs, or even like you say there's street work or something, and you're like, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people. Why aren't you in bed?
Yeah.
Like it's that type of thing. Because what the other thing is that I really thought was really interesting when I first started doing nights was what a different culture it is. In particularly, there was this one bus I used to ride. It was the night bus, and when I first got divorced and I was first, working at this 24-hour warehouse, fresh food warehouse, where the temperature all year round is 1 degree Celsius. One, so
One
like
degree.
really cold, like
Yeah.
Fahrenheit. That would be, I don't know. That's
That's freezer temperature.
40, something like that. Yeah, it's pretty much because it's fresh food. It was fresh food warehouse. And I remember there was this bus I had to take, and I had to ride it for 2 hours to get to work when I first started because I hadn't moved into my new place yet, and I wouldn't be in my new place for like 6 weeks. And this whole night bus culture that you see, like the people who are actually they're not they're responsible for keeping the city running, like the cleaners and what they call now the key workers now, these people who are making less than minimum wage. They're all getting on the bus at like 3 o'clock in the morning. They all know each other. Everybody on the bus knows. The driver knew us all by name because he sees, and actually there was this one woman, she used to see us all the time, so she'd go, "Hey, how you doing?" And she'd ask us about our day or our night. I guess it was really strange to be this whole different culture at night. And I wanted to write I thought about writing a like a play or a book about I wanted to write a murder mystery where everybody on the bus has to solve the crime, and they all because but everybody knows each other, so it was really weird seeing. And when you see the people who are talking to each other from they're from the same socioeconomic background, but different races, different uh people who wouldn't normally talk to each other on the street. Like you wouldn't see these two people who are sitting
So
beside
it's
each
just
other having this
where you're just
conversation.
talking about
Because,
people because people don't really talk to each other on the
yeah,
street.
just people because they met on the bus, and they see each other on the bus all the time, and they become and there was a whole group of people who ended up. They were like you could see them like I rode this bus for I think it was I think 4 months before I got transferred out of the warehouse into a different part of the where it's in the office part. But in that 4 months, I got to know some of the people that are in there. But there are people that I would probably never call. The people that they're not really like they weren't really like my friends. They were really good acquaintances, and I would see them and I would ask them how they were doing. I'd ask them how their kids were because we talked about their kids and stuff like that. And it was just a very strange
Well, it's being
and
nice
really
considering you guys
cool.
are sharing a bus ride together on to work. It's like
Yeah,
you don't want to be
but
awkwardly
it's
sitting
also
there.
but for me, yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, the thing about but the other thing that happens at night is you get all the drunk people coming out of the clubs, who are, taking the bus home. You also get the people who work at the clubs who are coming home from work. So say you've got a bar that closes at 2 in the morning. So at 3 in the morning, they're off their shift and they just want to go home. But then you've also got all the drunk people who are hopping on the bus because they want to go to Denny's and, or IHOP or
I
something that's
freaking
whatever's open at
love
24 hours. And
Denny's, man. Oh my God. But I look because
Denny's, man.
there's daytime culture and then there's nighttime culture.
I,
And nobody really understands the true capacity of what you really need both sides of the spectrum here. I mean, everyone looks at like, oh, you're doing the work throughout the
yeah.
day, but some of the most beneficial stuff is the one at night. And I just consider those night people the ones that can't handle day stuff. And by day stuff, I mean just can't handle all the they want to be alone. They want to be able to do their work and not have a bunch of people talking to them. That's why I love being up so
Yeah.
early and going to the grocery store. There's not a single
Well, you think
person in
and you think
line.
about yeah, you think about all the like the night stuff. There's a lot more trust and a lot more stuff going on than a lot of people are aware of. Like, for example, night cleaners in office buildings, or say the perfect example are night cleaners in lawyers' offices who have the potential to know all this stuff, maybe. But you have to. It's sort of like when they talk about is are you bonded? Like, say you've got a cleaner coming to your house, or even movers or something like that. What one of the questions that I remember we used to ask in North America is, "Are you bonded?" Like, because it was just a word that we, in many ways, it was a word we used in the '80s and '90s. Meant, "Are you clear to come to my house?" Like you would, if say it was an electrician or something, you would say, "Are you bonded?" Which it's almost like a criminal check because you're allowing someone into your home that you didn't know. Say it was for a plumber or whatever, and cleaners used to post all the time, bonded, I'm bonded, which meant that I've gone through my criminal checks and I'm safe to come into your home. So here you have these people who go into these offices who have access to confidential information, because how many people do you know uh, sticky note their passwords to their monitor
Yeah.
and forget it's there? And so you have these people walking through the office, and yes, there's been television shows about it and everything, where somebody's just walked through an office and saw a password on someone's computer and went, hmm, and they've taken it home and they've used that information for insider trading or something like that, or maybe blackmail to get some information from other people. It can happen because not everyone is nice.
Well,
So,
I can tell you from a pure example, for instance, how when I got a job at the casino, the whole background check for that was the most
mm,
long and intense, like 5 months of doing background information on you. I'm like, dude, I'm 20 fucking two. Like, you don't have a lot to really look up. I haven't done anything. Like, I haven't been out of the country. They're like, do you have a
exactly.
passport? I was like, no, I don't have a passport. I don't have any of that. They're like, do you have a social credit? And I'm like, I don't have any credit at all. I haven't built up shit. I'm really slacking in my life. Thank you for analyzing
Yeah,
that.
you're
But
like, that is one of the things. You go, I'm 22. What did you think I was an international villain at the age of 8? Like, when did this happen? Like, it's not going to happen. But they have to do it. They're going through the process. But that's the funny thing, like some of the security checks, you kind of go, really? That's a bit hardcore.
It's
And then some of them, you
necessary,
go,
man.
what?
It's necessary because I went when
Yeah,
working at the
but then some
casino,
of
we
them,
got to be in a bank vault and stuff, and I was like, all right, like there were thoughts of like, dude, you know how
yeah,
easy it would be just to take like 100, maybe $200, but then you think about it like, oh, you're caught on camera, you're gonna get shot, all these
casino,
types of
yeah,
things.
yeah, cameras everywhere. But the thing about that is, and then you have like I remember this one job I was at. It was pretty. It needed, I thought, needed some security, and I remember I asked this guy beside me. I said, "So what? So did they do any security check on you?" And he said they asked me if I was available for the shift, and I said yes. So they hired me. There was no background check. They needed people really like uh they'd had a staff walkout kind of thing, and so they were kind of panicking, and so they were just sort of they were almost hiring people off the street. They were standing up front and going, hey, can you do you want a job? It's kind of high security, but it's okay. It's like, are you a good person? Yeah, okay, good, come on in. And it was like, really? That was so sometimes you're in a position of where I think it's really funny that some of the positions that we have where you think about it and you go, this person knows a lot about me, or this person is in a position to have a lot of trust. I wonder if I don't we don't think about, some of the background checks that these people did not go through, kind of thing. Just they were just there, or it's nepotism and they know someone in the office and they just got hired because they're a friend of a friend, or they're someone's daughter or someone's son, and you're like, wow, okay. you know. And so it kudos to them if they're still a good person and they're doing a good job, kind of thing, because there's many people who could walk in there and go, okay,
Well,
here
there's
we go.
rare places
So
you're gonna
it's
need like a background check. Like I know one of the main giant suppliers of just hiring people because they need people is Walmart. I went into Walmart the other day, and first time I've ever seen this in my entire life. There was a guy that was stocking shelves, and he was fully tattooed. There was no skin left where that was open and bare, but he had his eyes tattooed, like so they were black. And I was like, that's a bold fucking move when you're
yeah.
wearing a Walmart vest and a Walmart hat and you're holding a box of hot sauce trying to stock it on a shelf. I'm like, geez, like obviously, I mean, I've worked at Walmart a couple of times. They always make you do this orientation, even if you're just returning back to work. It's the longest fucking week long process. But then you realize, like, once you finally get into the position, you're out there stocking shelves or doing whatever, you're like, I hate this. And it's why they're always miserable there, is because the job is like, you're just another number. And I never enjoyed that at all.
No, it can get to, I mean, this big warehouse that I worked at, I won't get into the name of the company. It's the second largest company in the UK, so if you could probably look that up. But the there wasn't a lot of, because it was fresh food, you would think that you might need some safety checks for what someone's going to do, but or I mean security checks. But their main thing was they wanted to know about safety. They wanted you to make sure you knew how to pick up a 40-pound box of sausages, kind of thing, and not throw your
That's a
back out and
lot of
sue the company.
sausages, bro.
So, oh, that's like, well, anything frozen is going to be like, holy crap. The heaviest thing we used to pick up in there, which we all hated, was potatoes and carrots. Boxes of carrots, like root vegetables, are flipping heavy. Holy crap. Like, you or bananas. You get a box of bananas, you try and pick up a 47-pound box of bananas, it's like, oh my god. And you just right away, I was feeling my oats when I was working there. And and we used to walk, like, you walk over 20 miles a day, because you just walk through this warehouse stocking shelves. And it was this warehouse I was in was bigger than two football fields. So you're walking constantly and all this stuff. But I would have thought there would have been more safety checks, and it was more security checks. It was more safety checks. They just wanted to make sure that you knew what you were doing. But at the same time, uh the amount of stuff that used to happen in these, like, people, like, sticking frozen uh ham down their trousers and try and walk out of the building, kind of thing, because because meat is very expensive these
Yeah.
days, kind of thing. So it was all the way that they used to, try and smuggle food out of the place. And they used to do these random security checks when you left the building, and everybody went through it, kind of thing. There was this button that everybody had to push on when you went through it, whether you were management, worked at the warehouse, but you were a cleaner. Everybody had to push one of these buttons, and then if it turned red, you got pulled into this little office and you got searched. And it was part of your condition as an employee that there's going to be random searches. And if you ever you could say, the security guard would come in and say, I'm going to do a random search, are you okay with that? If you said no, you're okay with that. But that meant that they immediately called the police, and they would put you take you down and say, this person has
There's a job
denied,
name for that. It's
going
called
through a
asset.
search.
It's called
So
asset
we're now going to
protection.
have to go through the, yeah. It's an interesting topic. I haven't talked about this for a while, but this company was mainly concerned with drug use more than anything. And I think that was uh,
Wait, what drugs were in the
more of
area
a,
though? That's the question you got to ask.
well, no, the main because the main drug that got used, that were tested. No, I mean drug use of the employees, like they didn't want you coming to work stoned. So the main drug that used to hit people a lot was cannabis. It's weed, kind of thing. And because you have people going, man, I do nothing all day but stack bananas and walk for hours and hours. No one's going to notice if I smoke up before I go to work. And then you get that sort of random check goes through, and you're like, oh man. But the other thing is, the thing with it's like with drunk people and stone people, there's this, they're like, yeah, no one will know. Yeah, they know. everybody knows it's A, your eyes are glowing kind of thing, or they're red, or, there's, uh, or it could be just the way that you're walking or the way that you're talking or the way that you're doing stuff. You, you give yourself away, usually when you, because, this warehouse at any given time had like 200 people on the floor, even at 3 o'clock in the morning, kind of thing, because it was 24/7. In fact, night times were usually the busiest times because you're loading all the trucks to deliver all the food.
Yeah.
So it was very busy. So there was lots of people around you, and lots of management and lots of cameras and lots of stuff to go. Yeah, I think that person is possibly under the influence. They may need,
You gotta be
and if you
careful with that though, man.
and
Because when
like
I worked at Walmart for a while, I was
yeah,
stocking in the candy aisle, and I have this really guilty pleasure of what I do is whenever I walk into a store and you can't find me, always check the candy or cereal aisle. Because what I like to do is I like to crush one of the little candies in the packages. It's just that sense of feeling like a Reese's Pieces break. Fuck, it is so enticing to me. And I remember like they called me and they're like, "We're gonna need you to take a piss test." And I'm like, "For what?" They're like, "We've been watching you crush like single candies in all these wrappers, and we don't know why you're doing it. So we think that you might be under the influence." And my manager just comes in and goes, "No, he's just fucking weird." And I'm like, like it's just do it
yeah,
once. You never give up.
hey, that's the thing. It's like, it's like handing someone bubble wrap, kind of thing. We all know it's a pop. You get that, and it's just that there is that stuff that people do, yeah, and where you get, and you get pulled in the office, go, yeah, and you're like, no, no, I'm just weird, just let me go with it, kind of thing. That's cool. That's funny. That's we caught this one guy. I used to stock shelves at night in a pet store. It was a really big pet shop, and he was always over in the dog treats area, and we could never figure out why he was always over in the dog treats area. And finally, we one night, I think manager were looking at the cameras or something, and they kind of went, and I knew one of the guys, and we went, yeah, we know why he's over in the dog treats all the way, because he likes to. There's Slim Jim stuff like that,
Yeah.
that nobody knows what's in them, kind of thing. Like well, dogs have their own version of those, like, and they even come in the packages, kind of thing, where you unwrap them, and he was always over in the dog food section, and he'd kind of look over, he was eating all the dog snacks.
It's look,
So
surprisingly, you got to
it was,
understand that that's actually
yeah,
very, very common that people eat like the milk bones and shit. And I'm like, I never knew that was a thing, but apparently it's the crunch factor. It's a lot like a graham cracker, but to like people will eat that stuff, and you start
well,
to wonder when your
there's
coworker's hair
in
is
many
nice and
well
glossy
in
and
many
shit.
in many ways, though, you look at that and you think, okay, dog food, it's 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 been labeled a dog biscuit, but it could be anything. You could make those for people and call it a people biscuit and just have it a different shape, and people would eat it because of what's in it. It's Most of it is like cat food. The lower end cat food is 98% ash, like, potash or whatever type of ash. So, but, they're saying that cats don't have like a sense of taste or something. It's sort of like dogs. I love the, um, I love the ads where you see it's like, yes, a well balanced meal for my dog. He's having rice and salad and Brussels sprouts. Isn't this great? And I'm going, your dog is a carnivore. He doesn't need the rice and the corn and the peas. He'd like the steak, though. Kind of thing. Give him
I will
that, but
hold on. I will give credit to my dad because towards the ending of my two dogs' lives, but around the time they're 14, they lost all their teeth. So my dad was making them
yeah,
food by hand. He would make eggs in the morning over rice, would
wow.
create beef. I mean, so much where I'm like, they're eating better than I am. He's like, I'll make you a sub if you want a sub. Like, I'll make you the same
That's
food. I'm like, I'd rather
yeah,
just have
that's
a
a
microwavable chicken sandwich or something because I'm an easy type of guy. But here's the thing, there's a giant trend out there of vegans that are giving their cats vegetarian food, vegans, and they're carnivores. So these cats only live to be 4 or 5 years old and they die because they're
yeah.
not getting the proper nutrition. And I'm like, you can feed your cat fucking anything, but you're going to keep
It's
feeding it
it's
vegetables.
Yeah, it's like people, and we get into the, I actually don't, I really don't want to get into the vegan vegetarian thing because I'm just I'm a meat eater. I always will be, I think. I've tried the vegetarian. I just don't enjoy it. For pardon me, for me, I miss meat. Kind of, that's my thing. But it's, yeah, I mean, we live in a strange world. It's a marketing world, advertising. We can sell anything. Like, somebody's got a warehouse full of this stuff, and it's like, well, we have to market it. It's good for the dogs, and the dog doesn't know. Dog doesn't. They're like, hey, this is that for me, and you're like, this. I think this one of the saddest things I ever saw when I was in this shop doing I was buying cat food actually, and there was a guy sitting on the floor beside me, obviously a homeless person, and he was going through different types of dog food, and he was comparing. He was looking at what's in the cans. He was reading. So I don't know. So he's obviously educated, but he's reading the cans. And I actually asked him. I said, "What are you doing, man?" And he goes, uh, "I'm just trying to make sure that my evening meal this evening has the most vitamins."
Oh, that's terrible.
And it's not. Well, it's not. It's not funny, but so I'm looking. You look over and you go, yeah, it's a different thing. But at the same time, when you mentioned that, like, what twigged that story was where you said the dog is eating better than I am. Sometimes there are certain, there's certain, just because something's been labeled dog food doesn't necessarily mean that it's not edible by a person. It just meant that we as a society have put that aside for our pets. And this food is actually better than a lot of cans of beef stew that you see on the shelf that we would get, kind of thing. Over here in the UK, they got cans of weird stuff over here, like oxtail and all this kind of crap. I don't even want to get into, some of the stuff they got over here in
You want
cans,
to
but
talk about weird
the
things, the
they
fact that we have classified our animals as dogs and cats. Why aren't other animals in that category of things? Why are things considered exotic? Like I saw a billboard and it was like, how far is too far? And it was about what you murder for food, like meat wise. And it said safe. And at the end of where the
yeah
safe side was, it was like cows, chickens, the common farm food. Then it was like sketchy territory. It was the middle of the board and it had like a horse and it had like all this other stuff. And then all the way at the right, it was like not safe. And it was like dogs, cats. And I'm like, who was the guy that decided let's
yeah
eat cows instead of dogs? Let's do that. Like people get mad at
well,
Japan or
and
whatever
yeah
for
and
eating animals.
yeah and pigs and things like that. It's I remember as a city kid, the very first time I went to a farm, uh like my relatives on my mom's side, they had farms, so they had cattle and pigs and stuff like that. And the very first time you see a pig butchered, and you see, because some farms they did it on their own because they had the one pig, they did it, and you see where bacon actually comes from the very first time. But when you see the whole process, right from the point where they take the pig out, kind of thing, they shoot it in the head, kind of thing, and
What
then
do they
they,
do? What do they do?
the,
What do they do, Casper? Tell me about all the
no,
necessary
no, no,
ingredients.
no. It's well, no. This is where if you got a butcher where you hold it. Have you ever seen the guns they use that have the all it
I've
does is
never
it
been
shoots
to a
a.
butcher where they shoot the pig in the head.
Well, it's yeah. That's the humane way to do it. Is you use these. I don't know if it's an air gun or something, but it just basically puts a spike out. It just goes and will uh, kill the animal because it goes into the brain. So that's how they do it with cows as well. And so the very first time you see, like, I'm an 8-year-old child, and I see my uncle and my cousins. They've just killed the pig, and now they hoist it up on with a tractor, and they cut it in half with a chainsaw. And I'm looking at this going, it was absolutely horrifying, just, but I'm 8 and I'm thinking about it. And as an adult, I look back on this now and go, this is what the process is in abattoirs and, you know, in big thing. This is where our food comes from. So if you can't deal with this, then why are you doing it, kind of thing. It's life. This is the circle of life. This is part of every single item in that pig was used.
Yeah. Well,
after they killed it. So they went through the whole thing. So I remember, there's that where you're looking at that that aspect, as a farm kid. But what was your original question? Because
Hold on.
that's
Well, I got
that's a
something to
real
add on to that. So when I was 10 years
yeah
old, my
yeah
grandparents live out in the country, and I would always hear these gunshots fire off, and I was like, "What is that?" And my grandpa would be like, "Oh, that's Farmer John. He's just doing, he's just firing off rounds." And I was like, "Okay." And I remember I was bicycling, and because nearby my grandparents' house, probably like maybe about a football field away around the corner was a horse farm. So I would go over there and like pet the horses, feed them grass and stuff. Then one bit me one time,
yeah
and I
yeah
was riding home, and I saw the farmer out front in his front of his yard with a cow, and he waved at me, and I'm like, "Hi, nice to see you." And then he just turns, pulls the gun up, and aims it at the cow, and I'm like, "No." And then I remember that traumatic experience where I went home and told my grandpa, I was like, "He's not
yeah
firing off rounds. He's killing cows." And like my grandpa was like, "Shit. How did you find that out?" I was like, "I saw it." He goes, "Damn." I think he went over there and
yeah
talked to the guy. Was like, "You shot a cow in front of like a 10-year-old? Like, what's wrong with you?"
yeah. It's sort of like, yeah, when you hear about things like when also before when I was younger, one of the my uncle had a farm dog, lovely dog kind of thing, and it was very protective of this other sort of puppy that was on the farm. And my little brother went to pet this puppy, and this other dog attacked him and grabbed him around the neck, was holding him down. He's like 5 years old, and and we as city kids, we're panicking, we're children, and we're going, what do we do? We can't get this big dog off my brother. So my uncle comes out, grabs the dog, and pulls it aside, and then literally 10 minutes later you hear the gunshot because they killed the dog. Because and we as children were so upset that he'd done this, and we went, I can't have a dog that's going to be attacking children. Like, if the dog doesn't know the difference between predator and a child, he's no good on my farm. And it's just done. And we were like, well, couldn't you have talked to him? Couldn't you give him a timeout? And he's like, no. That's this is and we're back to circle five. And this is your initial question was, when did they decide what's going to be who decided, cow, pig, you know dog. um and the story with that was, in my youth I was an actor, and I was lucky enough to and unlucky enough to have filmed a movie in Nigeria. And we were when they when you talk about poor, and when you talk about shanty towns, like, have you ever heard the term shanty town?
Yeah.
Until you actually see one, you have no idea of what poor really is, kind of thing. And so we were filming beside this shanty town in Lagos, Nigeria. And we had to stop filming every 20 minutes because there would be these gunshots and squealing of animals. And we never knew what type of animal was being killed. And the guide came over and said, "Oh, it's probably a dog." And we went, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, it's a mainstay here because there's so many dogs, and they're like your cattle."
Yeah, just like in Australia with
And
cats.
yeah, and he could see, and we were kind of stepping back, and he goes, "Do not judge, don't judge." He goes, "Because that's what these people have." And it's and it is like, Australia, it's like killing a kangaroo kind of thing, where we would go, "Wow, that's horrendous. They're these cute little things." It's like, no, in certain parts of Australia, kangaroos and wallabies are pests. It's like, in Canada, one of the things that farmers do all the time is they kill gophers, because gophers will destroy a farmland, kind of thing. Like prairie dog will destroy a, you know digging holes, doing stuff all over the place. So you're you're asking them, you're going, "You actually kill them? Why? They're so cute." And they're like, "No, they're like rats at home. You have to cull them. You have to, because if you don't, if they take over everything." So this is all circle of life farm stuff, the city kids don't really know about or think about, or like all the things that have to happen outside of the city to get you your stuff inside the city. And that's where there's another life out there altogether, is like, and it is very much the when I heard this person say to me, don't judge me just because I've eaten dog, and I went, okay, I'm good with you. And it's, we as North Americans don't understand that, whereas on different sides of the world, different 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 values, different animal, different thing.
Yeah,
So
I think more people need to spend time seeing where their food actually comes from. Like if you like my buddy works at a meat packaging plant, so he's seen the craziness that goes into what they do with the cows and stuff there, and he still eats beef. I went to a chicken plant when I was little and I'll still eat chicken, but what I thought it taught me was the fact of besides that 2 weeks where you're not eating it, after that 2 weeks is over, you're very, very cautious with how much that you make. You know, you understand instead of doing two chicken breasts, you'll do one. And then if you don't want the other one, you put it back, you save it. You know, it's being very cautious with your food instead of wasting it. Like how many times you go to a buffet, there's always
right,
that one fucking entree in the table at the buffet line that never gets touched. Like everyone
yeah,
somehow manages to stay away from it because it tastes so bad. I'm like, you just need to know how much food you need to make. Like Chinese restaurants know that. They go, how much do you plan on eating? And you're like, I don't know, a couple of trays, maybe. They're like, okay, let us know
yeah,
exactly how you feel. Don't take more. And they'll give you those looks when you have some stuff left on the plate. They'll look at you like, you son of a bitch, like, because you're wasting food.
yeah. Yeah, and well, even when you think of, like, a lot of people, like when you immediately think about people need to watch, what they eat, or do a little bit more research, your first thought is always to go to the meat section, because it's like that's where all the bad happens. Not really. When growing up in Canada in the prairies, the amount of stuff that they would ask farmers to do, kind of thing, like, and then when you get into like genetically uh, altered grains and things, because they want them to grow in different environments and do this and do that. And then during the 70s, when they were spraying everything with DDTs, and which was pretty much, I mean, as children, which probably explains a lot why I am the way I am today. But there used to be this vehicle that used to drive through town, that used to, well, it was a truck, it was a pickup, that used to pull this sort of machine, like it was like a fog machine behind it, that was basically spraying DDT all over the town to get rid of mosquitoes. Now, this is during the 70s. They didn't know any better. Or if they did know better, they didn't tell anybody. But at the same time, if they did know better, you wouldn't, I think there were certain people that knew and you just didn't tell. But so they're driving around and they're basically spraying poisons on everybody. But we as kids used to ride around on our bikes and follow this thing around because it was just so cool to be sprayed with all this fog. And I'm still here, I'm still so, but I imagine, was I affected by DDT? Maybe. I don't know. I probably have a third eye or something,
I
but I
mean,
can never see it
did
because it's in the
nobody
back of my head.
question the fact of how many people smoked in the cars with their kids when they were younger? And you just figured you're not smoking it. It's like then we learned about secondhand smoke, and then it was this whole thing like
My
that was a
my
trend.
kids, my mom and dad smoked 7 packs a day. I mean, when we were children, my mom was smoking when I was pregnant. You know, I don't know if I mean, I think they cut their alcohol content back, but there was a lot of, is smoking bad for you? Yeah, it was. And there was, but I mean, if you've ever met someone that's is suffered from fetal alcohol syndrome, that you know that drinking alcohol and stuff is a bad thing. The smoking stuff was probably bad. It was still probably more bad for your parents, kind of thing. But there was, and the chemicals they used to, in many ways, it got worse. It got worse. Like most of the chemicals in cigarettes, for example, are in the paper, not the actual tobacco. It was the paper, because if you've ever noticed, a cigarette never burns out. A cigar will burn out. If you put a cigar down, it goes out. Cigarettes, they'll burn right up to the nub, because there's chemicals in there that are, once you light that sucker, you might as well smoke it or it's wasted, unless you tap it out, kind of thing. And then you've got those cigarettes that have like the crinkly end, kind of thing. Which my uncle, I remember I had an uncle who was his big thing was always, he'd have his glass of scotch and he'd have a cigarette, and his cigarette always looked like it had run into a wall, kind of thing.
Yeah.
'Cause it was always lit, but he's always tapping it out. So whenever you looked at him, he had this crooked cigarette and this glass of scotch. He's like, "Hey," so so it was like that was the times. That was the whole thing. And yeah, I'm still here. I used to drink water out of the hose.
Yeah, I did
I'm
too. I
still
did
here.
plenty of
So
times. I think so. Here's my idea. Like, I think people need to know where their food comes from, but I also think that with all these allergies that are popping up everywhere, I think it's because of a factor of like every
yeah,
9 months, your body creates new cells. So you're a uniquely different Casper than the one that was 9 months ago. So if you stick to a diet for so long, let's say
yeah,
you right now you went vegan. 9 months from now, you're that you would have never experienced what meat is. So I was wondering if that plays an effect with genetics. Let's say someone became vegan for 2 years. So now they've never had meat before, technically, because their body has rejuvenated these different cells. Then they have an offspring
mm,
and their kid ends up being allergic to meat. Is that a coincidence? Because the fact that that person, maybe the body just doesn't have tolerance for things anymore. We're such a healthy diet trend society now. All these kids being born with dairy allergies, peanut allergies, all these things. Maybe it's a factor of not really the food, but the idea that we're making our bodies used to something that hasn't had that in a while. That's why when you have to reintroduce it, you have to do it slowly because it could shock your system. So
yeah.
maybe the kids are just being born not having the tolerance for it.
That's that's a good that's a good shout. I mean, I think these are things a lot of people don't think about. They think about why, like I met someone who was this lovely girl who was allergic to almost every type of food imaginable, and I was like, man, how you're not going to get any joy out of, she was allergic, she was lactose intolerant, she was allergic to tomatoes, she was allergic to fish, it was like, and full on, Will Smith from that movie where he's got these, because he's got that shellfish allergy, and bloat, puffing out and all that, and you're like, wow, where does that come from? And yeah, you could look at, I look at the kids nowadays, and there's always, but there's that running joke, there must be something in the milk kind of thing, because when I was in school, like I'm 5'8", I think I was 5'9", I'm shrinking. And I was considered, I was tall-ish kind of thing. But now you see kids in school that are like 6'1", 6'2", they're 14, 15 years old, and you go, what the what the hell happened? And those are the girls, so it's like, wow, what the heck, what's going on? But so there might be something. Yeah, I mean, there's also, we're part of eat, but I don't even think we're a fast food generation anymore. I think fast food has become much more, it's become smarter. I mean, during the 70s and 80s, and 90s, even, but more 70s and 80s, I think fast food was a bit dangerous, where they didn't really care what was in it. So McDonald's and Burger King were always getting hit by, what are in those burgers? Like soy sawdust. Like, what is that? It's 60%. But now, because people are so, they're really looking at what's in their food. Um, McDonald's over here in the UK, the amount of tests that they have to go through for their meat, the meat is actually really good quality, because they had the mad cow thing, over here, which, doesn't actually affect people, but, it made fast food restaurants have to do all these double and triple checks on their meats, so their burgers and stuff are actually really good quality. Uh, it's everything else that they're putting in it, kind of thing, and the fact that they're, or the process that they're cooking it. So fast food places have had to smarten up. They've had to get better, because the internet. I mean, somebody's going to come, and there's always somebody looking to bust a story. Like, you don't really see stories anymore about, I found a finger in my fries. You don't really see stories like that anymore, because that can be debunked so so quickly. It's like, okay, you know,
Well,
how
people
did
aren't
that
even really
happen?
looking at their food anymore. They're
If,
looking at the calorie content. That's why every single fast food place you go to now has
yeah,
a calorie thing on the side. That's all people care about is calories. They don't want to get fat or anything
yeah,
like that. And I'm like, that's not what makes you fat. It's something completely different, but it's so hard because we've been brainwashed. Food is the thing I get super passionate about because I've studied nutrition, but it's on the concept of like it has the weirdest fucking history. Nobody understands like those little cheese balls, little puffs that you see in little giant containers. That was created from an
Yeah.
idea of a corn machine that was grinding up all this corn, and the gunk that was getting stuck in the cogs of the machine, a dude was scraping it out. Then some dude decided to eat it, and they ended up making cheese balls. I was like, that's fucking where that comes from. Like, you start to analyze, cornflakes were invented to prevent masturbation. There's a whole long list of stuff where you're like, is anybody else reading this shit?
That's right. I'd forgotten about that Kellogg, Mr. Kellogg, and that was here in the UK. That was. See, that's why it's always See, no wonder things are so screwed up in the U.S. because when they kicked all the religious nutters out of out of the Europe and stuff, the Baptists, the Anabaptists, the Duke of Boers, the Quakers, the Shakers, the Bakers, the Makers, they all came over. Where'd they go? The U.S. And so they brought all their lovely masturbation flakes with them and stuff, and it was, like Quaker Oats, all that stuff that's on there. These guys were maniacs. I mean, the Salem witch trials, and that's all the Quakers and all this kind of stuff over there.
Don't say that. They're
But
gonna
yeah,
cancel Quaker Man.
are they? Yeah, that's right. They are. Well, they're changing him, aren't they? Are they making him? He used to change all the time. His smile or what? So they're not going to use the Quaker Man anymore,
No,
or
you're just saying
is
that
that the
they're part
deal?
of the Salem witch trials. I'm like, stop. You're gonna make them get
Oh
canceled.
yeah. Well, those guys. It was funny. Yeah, when they talk about they were. It was a bit nutty. It was a bit crazy at the time, yeah, when they talk about where these foods came from, I saw somebody do an experiment the other day, which was really great. They took a Cheeto. It was actually a bowl full of Cheetos, and they covered it. It was a. It was Oh, they. It was a bowl full of Cheetos, and they put it into one of those salad spinners. This bowl full of Cheetos,
Yeah.
and they spun it. And she spun it for about I'd say about 2 minutes, and she goes, "Okay, I got this." And then the bowl was coated in all the orange powder, and on the inside, what was left was when you get the crunchy Cheeto, the
Yeah.
super crunchy one. That's what was left of just a regular Cheeto. She goes, so you spin all the air out of it, and this is so what they do is they make a bunch of Cheetos, and then they take some of them and they just suck all the air out of them, and you get the super crunchy ones, and it's all the same. And I have no idea what's in that orange powder. Where they
Drugs,
where
lots
we
of
see the
drugs.
guy. Well, where the guy's like licking his hands. You've seen that. You must have seen the ad where the guy
It's not
is running
happening
around
during
licking other people's
coronavirus.
hands and
That's
stuff
not
like that.
happening ever.
Oh no, but it was. I don't know what's in that powder, but it ends up everywhere. That's the thing about Cheetos and even Doritos and all this. That's no, that was those were Doritos ads where you get um, the guy was running around licking people's hands and stuff because of the crap that ends up in your food. It's like eating pistachios. Super like there's that lovely scene in Naked Lunch where, um, or not Naked Lunch, Naked Gun.
You said
Naked, the
naked
first movie where
lunch. What
all the
the
guys had the
fuck are
pink.
you talking about? I can't believe that.
Naked, have you ever seen Naked Lunch?
No, I've never seen Naked Lunch. I've seen
Naked Lunch
Naked
is an
Gun
actual.
multiple times.
Oh, Naked Lunch is basically a biography of William S. Burroughs. You should look it up. But it's a movie that you need to be under the influence to really appreciate. Kind of thing. It's you. Peter Weller is the main star in it. It's one of the weirdest movie because it's basically William S. Burroughs writing while he's under a drug trip. So the movie is basically one big drug trip.
Yeah.
Uh, it's got talking buttholes in it and talking typewriters and
I'm hooked.
giant
I'm
insects
hooked. You
and
already sold the pitch. Don't even need to
yeah.
continue.
No, just look up Naked Lunch and see what's in it. And yeah, it was. It's one of these movies that you got to watch it a couple times to go because the first time you watch it, you'll go, what the what 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 did I just see? Because it's really weird. It's just really weird. Yeah, that's all. But it's the acting in it and like is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It's got some pretty big stars in it. So it's well, it was when did they do that? That was the '80s, I think.
You could look
I
past all
have a
that with
typewriter
talking
from that movie.
buttholes.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I mean, when you look at it, it's basically it's a talking asshole, is what it is. And when you see it in the movie, and it's a giant talking asshole, and and the lead character is having a conversation with it. That's and yeah,
Dude,
you have
I got
to.
a better plot to a movie. You ready for it?
All right, let's hear it.
Imagine if you found out that all the information the government was getting that controlled our whole entire lives, the whole system, everything that we've been running off of all these laws was created by a giant talking magical butthole that's just whispering secrets like the speed limit's going to be 45 in this area. It's like all these types of things.
Well, that's the thing. It's a butthole from the future. I'm a time traveling butthole from the future. And it's sitting in this room at a table smoking. Well, I don't know. Somebody would have to hold the cigarette up to him, but every so often it would go, yeah, okay, yeah. In fact, there's yeah. Just watch if you watch the movie, you'll see it and you go, oh my god, because the very first time it starts to talk, you go, is that what I think it is? Oh my god, it's yeah, it's an interesting movie, but it's one of those movies where you have to, I think, expand your horizons to. It's not for everybody when you watch this because it's creepy. And there's some very disturbing scenes in it. I think it's what they would call a cult classic.
Okay.
It's a cult movie. It's like Lair of the White Worm and all that kind of stuff where you're watching it, where there's scenes in it where you go, holy crap. And it was done during the time when they were still sort of doing, there was no CG. So it's all full animatronic, life sized stuff happening. So, which makes it even creepier when you see all this stuff happening because you're like, oh, Jesus, like I don't need to see that. And yeah, and yeah, go watch it. Go watch it. I would recommend, just having a night or even watch, just yeah, Peter Weller's insane in it. He's really, really good.
You're
But
selling
it's
a
William S.
pitch to
Burroughs,
a
where
movie.
they,
You're selling a pitch to a movie where all you had to do was say talking buttholes and the people are hooked in.
yeah, yeah, and it's the same guy leaving Las Vegas, the one that Johnny Depp did, which is another William S. Burroughs
Who's Johnny Depp?
movie kind of thing where they, I some guy I heard of, I think he does this pirate thing. I don't know.
I heard he bought a house
I can't remember
on
who he is.
he bought Johnny Depp bought a house on his block, every single one but one, and the one guy would not sell his house. So what he did was he built a giant statue that's a middle finger flicking off the house.
If you've got the money and uh I think I don't I think Johnny Depp gets a bad rap. I don't know him that well, but he also but some of it is he doesn't when the bad rap happens, he just kind of flaunts that for a while kind of thing. He'll go with that for a bit but I don't know him. The only thing I know about him is his birthday is the same day as mine. So
He just goes
his
I think
birthday and
he's just
Natalie
gone
Portman.
crazy because of the aspect of how famous you are. I don't see like if you're at a high level of fame and you have a lot of money to do whatever you want, like if Elon Musk fame or money, you end up just going crazy at some point. And it's funny because I talked to an astrophysicist
Yeah,
and
you do.
she was talking about how there's an issue like with Elon Musk, for instance. She was like, he's just an investor. He's not really, he's a developer, but he doesn't actually do a lot of the work. It's like Steve Jobs with the iPhone. Like he created the iPhone, sure, but though he's not the one that's sitting there soldering all the pieces together. Those are a whole other group of people that are doing that.
Yeah. So, and yeah, that's the thing. I mean, so when you think about it, you go, he's an investor, but he's not the actual big brain. His thing is he knows people. He can get people to do stuff. He might have an idea and he might go, "Can you do this thing?" And then he takes this person who does the thing and goes, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm just gonna put my name on that if that's all right." He's like, "Yeah, go ahead," kind of thing. And so he just said, he goes, Elon Musk thingy, going off to space. Now, also give the guy his due. He's probably, he probably learns, and I'm not going to sour grapes Elon Musk, because he's gotten to where he is because he obviously does some stuff right, kind of thing. Some of it is luck, some of it is probability, some of it is knowing the right people, but some of it is also, you know, going for it. There's a lot of guts. He's probably lost more money than most of us, can imagine in a lifetime, trying to do certain things, get certain other stuff, which allowed him to make more money other places. So he's probably a risk taker, big. And a lot of us, the reason why we're not Elon Musk is because we're not risk takers like that. We're not. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Or maybe
It's
you
that
slid
it's
into
that
a
first
certain
thought that
part in
goes
the
through you.
simulation where everything goes right and you end up winning like the Powerball.
Or he has a hotline to our time traveling butthole.
Exactly. That's a better story.
That's what it is. So he calls up and he goes, "Hey, so what's happening today?" "Well, Elon, let me tell you, if you do this thing, you'll make millions." It's like, "Thanks, man. Thanks, butthole." Click.
Is
And
that how the butthole talks? Is that the voice that it uses? I would expect a different voice from a
I
magical talking butthole.
the yeah, yeah. The magical talking butthole could be like, "Hey, Elon, can we talk today?" I have no idea. The magical butthole could sound like the Wizard of Oz. I don't know what he's going to sound like.
Do not
He's
look
magic. Maybe he
behind
sounds
the
different.
curtain.
That's right. See, the magical butthole maybe sounds different to everyone because he speaks in your mind. So I don't know
It's
what a
look,
strange thought,
it's
but
not
anyway,
about what's in
that's
here.
that's
It's
that's
about
why
what's in here.
that's right. Man. Oh, please, the tears will start falling. So man, I love your like you had like you're talking astrophysicist, and then you had geologists, and you have game players and you stuff like your brain must be ready to explode with all this new information. Just do you retain a lot of the stuff from your talks, or do you have to go back over some of your podcasts and go, "Oh yeah, I did learn that thing. Holy cow."
So
Because you've done so many.
I never re-listened to an episode of my podcast, and remember every conversation I've ever had. And if I did not do this, I probably have a bunch of information about birds or something in my head. So
That's the thing. Are you you might be a did you know kind of guy. Did you know that the rings around Venus are? It's like, no, just do a podcast. Okay,
the hardest
I
thing
will.
for me is like
And then
when I'm in a
you end it.
conversation with somebody and somebody says something, then it's like I can reference where talked about that in an episode and I actually know the truth. So it's so hard not to be like, well, in my podcast episode, I did. It's so hard not to say that in public to where now people are like, you have a podcast? I didn't know that. What's it called? I'm like, I'm not even gonna. I can't do it.
But that's it. Which is thing. I mean, you need somebody to blow your horn, kind of thing. Because you. I wish more people would tune into your stuff, because these are fascinating conversations. Just even like these are like I call these conversations waterfall conversations, where they've started, the dam has burst, and they're just we what how many topics have we covered, just
Talking
because
buttholes
it's
was the
just train
best one. I can tell you
well
that.
well it's just train of thoughts. Yeah, and I'm gonna love the Instagram thumbnail on that one. Tell you the you watch where you put my face, young man. So that's but yeah, see, I mean, that movie when it came out, again, when you go back to that, was and it wasn't even crossing a lot of boundaries or a lot of stuff. It was just people were just doing weird stuff in the late 80s and early 90s kind of thing. And but what I was going to say was I have a typewriter from that movie that I found in a pawn shop. It's a candy apple red Remington that I used to use in the 90s. This is me. This is totally me, being in which is probably why I didn't date much, was I used to go to this one restaurant in Vancouver called the Funky Armadillo. And I used to sit inside the restaurant with a cup of coffee and my typewriter. And I had a press hat, one of the old hats I used to wear that would have a little tag on it that had press. And I had one of those hats, and I would sit and write poetry on my little typewriter, tonking away. Now people would do it like on an iPad or something like that. So this is like 1991, and there's me sitting there typing away poetry on my little Remington typewriter, kind of
With
thing,
a
in this
cigar.
restaurant that nobody's
Yeah,
in, kind of thing.
see, I tell you, see.
Well, no, I used to smoke a pipe. So I'm sitting there with a pipe, with typing away on this tobacco, or typing away on my typewriter. I've got a picture of it. I'll send you a picture of it
Please
with me.
do. That'll be
And
my
it's just
Instagram
when I
thumbnail.
so it's just one of those things where you go, Yeah, okay. That was yeah, it was fun at the time, but I was kind of a geek. Right? I was
Look,
a bit of
I'm
a
not gonna
nerd
lie to you.
when I think
I
back on
owned a
that.
fedora at one point when I guess it was like I would go to my grandparents' house in Baltimore. This is a different set of grandparents. I have like four sets of grandparents. So I went to my grandma. This is the
Yeah.
grandmom I found out who's a lesbian at the age of 20. I went there. She was like, I want to get you some clothes for school. I'm like, all right, sweet. We're going clothes shopping. So we went into like a fucking Hot Topic, all the stuff that's at the mall. And I saw a skull fedora. And I thought it was going to be the coolest fucking thing to wear when I went to school. I went to school with it, wore it for I think about an hour. Then I saw one of the nerdy kids wearing one and I fucking took it off and threw it in the trash. I was done after that, dude. I was like, nah, I'm not going to be that guy. It looks
That was the
ridiculous on him.
so what you had to do was you had to own it. And when you get it and you own it, then it becomes your thing. Like I, some of the things that you used to have to do that to it's to if you were going to be a nerd, you just owned it, kind of thing, and then people just left you alone, kind of thing. It depending on see, not everybody was like that, and then this is another topic when we're here if we're going to go into school and how everyone was treated. Like I look back on some of my um, high school times, and I do you ever think back to some of the people that you went to school with, and you go, I wonder if that person was gay, which is why
No, I
they
said it
acted
back
the
in the
way they
day.
did.
I've called it. And look, there's a dude on my podcast episode. His name's Brian. I called him in sixth grade. I said, dude, just come out. And I knew it when I had him on to talk about it. I was like, dude, I always knew you were. And it wasn't trying to be mean, but people were calling me an asshole for saying that you were. And he was like, no, you knew it before even I did. Like I had a weird feeling I might have been, but
Well,
then I didn't come out until
it's
after high school. I'm like, that's the
it's
thing. Be
but see,
yourself.
that's one of these things see see like well that's the hard part. Like see I grew talking about growing up in the prairies. Um where I grew up was actually uh see it's hard to say this about your hometown kind of thing. My hometown was very racist and it was also very small-minded. But it was a small town. It was a small town like so you're dealing with your parents from the 60s, the 50s and the 60s, who, if there somebody in their little group was gay, you didn't talk about it. You didn't talk about that stuff. Holy cow. If you had a son or a daughter who was gay, you didn't talk about that. You hid that. You didn't, or they were beaten, or they were taken somewhere because they were possessed, or, there was somebody, because you had the religious right move in. So when I was, I think back on some of the people I went to school with and I go, I wonder if they were gay and it was just killing them because they couldn't tell anybody. Or what you just said, they didn't know. And they had these because you've grown up in an environment where if anybody knew you were different, you didn't. I When I was younger, I was see, I think I don't know if we had this conversation, but the ice hockey stuff, the hockey
Yeah.
player, the Chicago Blackhawks. Um, the One of the things that happened with that was I had to hide all my injuries from whenever something happened because my dad would pull me aside and say, "You do not tell anybody that you've hurt your wrist or you hurt your knee or whatever, because if somebody finds out that you have maybe a flaw or something like that, that could affect you being drafted." So you go through your grade 10. I went through grade 10 with a very badly dislocated shoulder that kind of popped back in but didn't heal properly and did all this stuff. So you're doing damage to your body because you've been told by an adult to not tell anybody that you have a weakness, that you might be, or what is considered a weakness. And so imagine growing up in a community where you feel different than everybody else. Maybe you are gay, or maybe there's something, or maybe you don't like meat. And growing up in a farming community and you don't like meat, like you want to be a vegetarian, how are you going to pull that one off, kind of thing? That's not going to happen.
You talk
So
about
I look
you
back
talk
on
about the
that and I
amount of
go,
information that I can soak up. My uncle was on my podcast. His name's Richard. He grew up in the South and he is gay. And he had four brothers, came from a big football family. And I mean, almost made me cry on the episode because of the fact of like he was talking about how many times he cried and just wanted people to accept him, but knew he would never be accepted. And it's like, I'm so glad people today don't have to
yeah.
worry about that, but also I'm in fear of the aspect of
Oh,
like nowadays people go fucking insane with it. Like just there's so much that goes on nowadays where I'm just like, look, I feel like we're trying to make up for all the time that we spent not accepting this, and we're going way too far. Like like getting your gender changed at 3 years
Yeah,
old, I
this
don't think is
yeah,
good.
this yeah, no, because A, it's not your choice. At that point, if you're 3, you haven't made any formative decision. So yeah, that's offensive to me. That's a parent pushing their wishes on their children, going, "I wanted a son or I wanted a daughter instead." In many ways, kind of thing, or thinking this it was like, "Oh no, I my child knew at 3 that they wanted to they were at the wrong sex." No, they did not. I know many strangely enough, I knew many boys growing up that used to wear girls' clothes. A, because they were in a big family and shit used to just get passed around, or they used to just like playing dress up and they used to run around and they ended up, they grew up to become world famous actors or something like that, or it was just something like they're children, you want to watch a one of the ultimate actors or actresses in the world, watch a 4-year-old girl have a tea party with her dolls. That's these are children have no when they don't have the biases and they don't care. They don't that somebody's looking at that going, you realize, your doll doesn't is not drinking that tea. Like
Well,
they don't care. They don't care. So if you have a boy running around in a dress, he doesn't care. He's 3, he's 4. They don't care until they're told by an adult that's wrong. And then they go, yeah, maybe it is. I think society starts to tell them so. It would be, it gets a bit tougher later on when they're like 6 or 7 and they're going to school because, you put your genders in and you things like that. It's like, yeah, Billy, you look great in that dress, but no, you need to wear pants.
there's
Like
I
it's
actually saw a picture on Twitter, and I gotta make sure I get this out 100% here. I had saw a person that had switched genders, so they said, and they were using a Twitter profile, and they would put up a picture of themselves with their old self and their new self. They had went from a girl to a guy, and I saw it. I was like, how the because so many people were questioning it and calling it out. But here's the issue: when you call out something like that, then everyone else attacks you because they feel like you're hurting that person. But I was like, hold on a second. This person
yeah,
went from a girl to a guy, grew amazing facial hair, did all this stuff, and then they were like, how did you do that? How did you grow such amazing facial hair? He's like, I took this certain peppermint oil, I took this types of leaves. I'm like, hold on a minute. That already sounds very fucking fishy. So I grabbed the image, the before image, I put it on my phone in a Google app, and I said search image result with the picture, and it popped up a fucking SoundCloud
okay,
of this girl, not the person that was saying that was them. They were lying to a bunch of people just to get this whole idea of like, you're
yeah,
powerful, you're strong. And I didn't call that person out because of the aspect. If I did, there would be a whole list of people that wouldn't care about the truth. They would just attack me. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. This is just this is it's my it upsets me the fact that people can't be their honest selves, and they want to create lies and they want to create all these things just because they think they're doing the right thing. You're
yeah,
not doing the
yeah.
right thing when you cloud
Yeah,
your
they're jumping.
image.
Yeah, you're jumping all over like because that's really sad when that happens, and it's surprised like it's surprising somebody would try and do that this day and age because you like of what you just did. That's and you are not probably a forensically trained. Like there are people who are forensic scientists, like computer forensics, where they could just go, "Oh, really?" and they would go, "Whee," and they go, "No, not gonna, no." Why would you even try that kind of thing? But because it's social media and there's so many, you'll get so many hits before somebody goes, wait a second, because there's always a bunch of people who are going to jump on that bandwagon they're who aren't doing any research, who aren't actually looking at the pictures, who aren't going, all they're doing is they're going, yeah, this is a positive message. This is, they've had the guts to change, and it's like, no, they actually haven't. It's what they've done is they're fooling everybody, and it makes you think of, think of that person as well. You think, okay, is that person laughing at all of us inside going, I pulled this on you? Or is this person going, finally I'm being recognized, or something? Because you wonder, why would somebody do that? Why would somebody take
It's for
you
acceptance.
know,
They want that pat on the
pretend to.
back. They want this
Yeah,
love and admiration from people. It's just a like and a share or a follow, everything that everybody's obsessed with the social media. I just don't like the fact that people feel they don't need to do any research. They don't need to look into this anymore. They're just going to say this because that's what you're supposed to do. It's like this PC culture
yeah,
type stuff of like, oh, I laughed at a woman comic, clapped your hands. Back in the day, you laughed if she was funny. Now we're like, oh, I feel so good. I clapped and I laughed because I laughed at a woman comic or something. I'm like, that's an issue. That's not, you shouldn't feel good that you had that thought. You should feel bad that that even came
yeah.
into your mind because comedy transcends gender. Emotions transcend gender. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
if you're a
comedy.
guy or girl.
Yeah, there's comedy or music. It's fun. The funny thing is, and I'm gonna, I'm going to relate something about myself that, see, I don't know why I would be embarrassed by this, but, um, the one of the things that has happened, since I had my heart attack, earlier in the year, is I used to be really good, at hiding my emotions and hiding. Nobody knew what was going on inside. And, I could be in a room with somebody I absolutely despised and they'd have no idea, kind of thing. But since I've had my heart attack, I found that my emotions have become much more upfront. I get angry very quickly, and people know I'm angry now. I get sad very quick. Like it's to a point where it can almost affect my work. Like I'll be reading a script, and all of a sudden I'll just start to cry, and I'll be like, "Oh, crap!" And so I'll have to stop, and I'll go because it's sad. But normally, what I'd be able to do is compartmentalize, do that. But what's happened lately, just before Christmas, this thumbnail popped up for this. But we're talking music for this band. Uh, it's an all-girl group out of Japan. They're heavy metal or not heavy rock group out of Japan called Bandmade, and it's a bunch of girls, actually ladies, women, who dress up as maids, but they play rock music. And I'm looking at this going, well, that's just kind of weird, kind of thing. And one of the things that since I've done research into this group is I've I haven't realized what a chance they're taking and how hard it is for them because over in Japan, dressing up as a maid means something totally different than it does over here. It has different connotations. And so when you're getting into the cultures, but listening to these girls, I caught a live performance of one of their songs called Freedom. And at the end of this video, I was bawling my head off in joy because these ladies on stage were shredding. They're absolutely amazing musicians, but the joy that they had on stage that they were sharing with everybody. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, and I'm not thinking women, men. I'm thinking there's musicians on the stage sharing their joy with a live audience. And how many times have you heard about, say maybe it's your favorite band or something like that? I remember when the Police broke up and I was so upset because there was all this infighting stuff going on, and so you hear about them like they go on stage and they do this fantastic show, and then you hear about it later in the news that they didn't even talk to each other backstage. They don't look each other when they're on stage. They're not interacting. They can't stand each other. How many bands do we know of where that they're like that, where they actually don't kind of like each other? They go on stage, or you'll have other bands who go on stage and they're phenomenal musicians, but they're not connecting. They're not connecting with the audience. They don't do this thing. So here, so here you have. I'll send you a link of these girls, and you just, I've, I've gone to realize I was like, yeah, if you're gonna share your talent with other people, if you're gonna share and the joy that you can share, this is a time where we need to be doing stuff like that, especially with COVID. Um, we need to get this out. I can't wait until this shit is over, kind of thing, because I miss live concerts. I miss, I miss going out and just chatting with people, and as everybody does. But I want to get out there and start sharing. Pardon me, sharing the joy again. And that's one of the things I like about your podcast is that you have this joy in topics. You do. You can tell when you're talking about them. You're really interested in every single person that comes on your show. Good for you, man.
Well, why would I ask
That's
you
one
all
of the
these
reasons I
questions if I didn't care, man? You got to
no, it's
care.
no, but it's no, but you could to get viewers to do whatever, to fill time, to do whatever. No, but every single person that you come on, you're interested in everything that they say, all these different topics. So that's cool, man. Like, thank you very much for inviting me to be on this because it's great. And the fact that you're sharing your you seem to have this joy of knowledge. It's like, let's talk about different things, and what have we talked we've gone through everything from you know the pigs and the animals and cat food and dog food, all the way to talking buttholes. So we had a
And
this was
then
a
we
great.
even hit the gender thing too. That's a tough one right there.
Well, that is the thing. I mean, you grow up and you look back and yeah, that's and it's sad that this person would have to do stuff like that. So, and that's where this bandmate thing came in. Like, for me, I don't care if they're guys or they're girls or whatever on stage. Yeah, they're a bunch of cute girls, they're ladies now, they're all in their late 20s, they to me, I just looked at that and I said, these are fantastic musicians. And if you ever read any interviews with them, all they talk about is wanting to improve so that when they get a chance to do live, they want to be able to perform the best they can for their audience. And that, to me, that's fantastic. I mean, you've got it's that's it was also it's a motivation thing for me too as well, because it's like, well, here's a bunch of people who are using their time when they're stuck in COVID, sort of as you're doing the COVID, or you're doing the podcast and all this stuff. But there are lots of people out there who are just kind of sitting on there going, well, I don't really know what to do. I don't know. So it's like, pick something, make your, this,
Anything is
and just,
possible in this world. Anything.
that's what, yeah, that's what it is. Anything is possible. And the sharing of it is important. Like, what's the joy never shared is only half enjoyed. It's that type of thing. So if you've got something and you share it, and the thing with COVID, if COVID has shown us anything, there are people out there who are just like you, who like the same stuff you do, who want to talk about the same things. So I'll go on. Stop being a troll. Like, there's no point. If you don't like something, scroll past it or go somewhere else. Go to a different YouTube channel. You don't have to watch it. Why leave a negative comment? That helps nothing,
Because it
because
feels
all that's
good.
going to do is what you've. Well, it might feel good for you, but it does nothing, because all you're going to do is all the other people who are on the site who like that site are just going to go, yeah, you suck, and there's no, unless you one of those supervillains who gets your power from negative energy, you're gonna get nothing. You're gonna get nothing by being a troll
You know how
these
we
days. So stop
solve
doing
those
it. That's just
keyboard anger people?
how do we do that?
We stick their hands in
Hit
those
him with the keyboard.
the Chinese finger things that you can't pull your hands
Oh,
apart.
because a lot of the people who are trolls uh aren't patient enough to get themselves out of it. They would be
Exactly.
stuck
You
in
sit
that
there.
thing forever.
That is the
I'd be
worst
stuck in
feeling
it.
in the world when you feel like you're never going to be able to get your hands out of there. Like I remember being a kid and my dad's like, "Looks like we're gonna have to cut off your finger." So I'm like, ah.
As grandpas will do. Be like, he's like, I was kidding, and you're like, I'm 7. You don't kid to a 7-year-old. You're gonna cut off my fingers.
Casper, is there
Oh my
anything you want to promote, man? You want to promote where people can find your Twitter, your Instagram?
Oh yeah. There's actually one thing that I wanted to say. I was asked to I'm a member of a comedy podcast troupe called Release the Clowns comedy podcast. And if you guys ever if you got 20 minutes and you need a laugh, look these guys up, because they're exceptionally funny. It's a bunch of improv comedy guys. For me, just Casper-Michaels.com will find you. Actually, you can just type me into Google and it'll bring you to my webpage. And that's the easiest way to do it for promoting. And if you're looking for, that's where all my voiceover demos are, and I've got a bio on there of all my lovely stuff. So it's all good. So thank you very much for allowing me to promote myself.
And thank you for joining me on
Rob, it's been
another
fantastic.
episode of Out of the Blank Podcast.